Hello everyone and welcome back to My Opinion. And India have beaten Australia by 24 runs and have ensured a first place finish after the Super 8 stage. They thought they'll be playing the second semi-final against England and Guyana. On the 11s of both sides, starting off with India, they went with the same combination that they went with in their previous match against Bangladesh, where when reviewing that game, I'd said Mohammad Siraj should be brought back into the side. And I'd said in that video that he should be brought back in place of Kuldeep Yadav, who bowled very well this match and the previous match where he took 3 wickets. Now that he's given those 2 performances, I'd say he should be in the side. But I would still say Siraj should be brought back in place of one of the spinners. And I'll elaborate on that in a bit. And on Australia, Mitchell Starc was brought back into the side in place of Ashton Agar. And this may be controversial. My intention isn't to ridicule Afghanistan's victory. But the reason why Australia lost their previous match was because they rested, I say rested, but they left out Mitchell Starc to flex their muscles so that even if they had lost the previous match, which they did, they'd beat India for another time in an ICC event. I knew that wouldn't happen, and I'm not surprised that we saw what he did today, where I thought India and their bowling effort were tardy and let Australia get close. Where I thought Ashton Agar should have played today as well. Mitchell Starc should have played, yes, but I thought Ashton Agar should have played today as well, because if you're looking at their spin lineup, Adam Zampa is the one attacking spinner, yes. Then you've got Glenn Maxwell. And if Adam Zampa has a bad day like you saw today, they don't have the spin to choke the opposition in the middle overs. And especially when you're playing against an opposition such as India, you need those robust, bankable spinners to choke them in the middle overs, where Adam Zampa went for runs today, Glenn Maxwell didn't bowl, and Ashton Agar wasn't playing, so there was no spin contingent. And Mitchell Marsh won the toss and chose to field first, as he did in the previous match. Then and there, I envisaged India playing against England in Guyana in the second semi-final, because already he shouldn't have done so in the previous match, winning the toss and choosing to bowl first. And this one, I couldn't understand, especially when you've lost your previous match. I said this even in the World Cup final, which went Australia's way. I'd said it was a very poor decision to choose to bowl first, and we saw what happened, and I'd still say choosing to bowl first was a poor decision. In this case, it was an extremely poor decision. I thought not bringing in an Ashton Agar in part and the decision of the toss was what put India ahead to win this match. The match got underway, and on the first wicket to fall, as I justified the shot that Rohit Sharma played against Bangladesh to be dismissed, where I've said for a few venues you've got to get that 54 to 55 for 1 after the power play as a batting side. And Virat Kohli, the reason why I thought he went for that shot was because India was 6 without loss and 1.3, and he wanted to start things off for them from a batting perspective. A short ball was bowled, he looked to play the pull shot, didn't get the desired connection and was dismissed. So I wouldn't fault the shot that Kohli has played. Yes, he hasn't had great returns thus far in this tournament, where he looked very good in the previous match against Bangladesh and threw his wicket away. He's done great things all these years throughout his career, and I feel if there's one player who, even if he hasn't had those returns in the prior matches, you can back that player to stand up in a knockout match, it is Virat Kohli. And so I once again have no worries over his expectation to contribute going into these matches, because I feel he's been getting himself out, but bowlers haven't been bowling brilliant deliveries to get him out. So I have no worries over Virat Kohli. Rishabh Pant walked out to bat 3, and I'll say again, him looking to go aggressive in this situation, I didn't mind if India wanted to get to that 55 for 1 mark after 6 overs. And I'm not surprised the way Rohit Sharma took down Mitchell Starc in the second over that he bowled. I thought even in the first over it was a very scrappy start where he's bowling wide deliveries. And when the fielders were in on the offside, he bowled a half volley outside off stump to start off with. And Rohit Sharma, we've seen him play that shot off Mitchell Starc quite a few times in recent encounters. And it was belligerent to see the way that he took him down, and I was very happy for him throughout the innings, and especially with the way he set the tone to start. He looked as if he was looking to prove a point to, I wouldn't say avenge the loss, but I think he would have taken it in a personal way, that he wouldn't have wanted there to be a situation where they had a mental block against a particular team. He wouldn't have wanted to continue that feeling of dissatisfaction for longer. So I thought it was a very heroic start, a very heroic knock. I was nervous throughout that knock because I thought after the power play, there's a phase about 4 overs where you consolidate in venues like these, and I thought, what if he continues to hit even in that situation, which he did do. It came off, and a fantastic. I will talk more about that, of course, as I review the game further. But from the start against Mitchell Starc, I thought watching him take down Starc in that over, it was quite heroic to see, and I was very happy for him, especially considering how difficult that 2023 ODI World Cup final loss would have been today. I know it only says 15 or 14 next to Rishabh Pant's name on the scorecard, but I thought him staying there was vital for India to not lose wickets while Rohit Sharma was going the way he was going. Pant hit a couple of boundaries, yes, but those 14 balls meant that while he didn't get as much of the strike or the carnage was going on from Rohit to put up his 15-19 deliveries, it meant that the advantage could be established for India, where I'd said, and I've said this in other grounds as well, still in the group, in 85 for 2 after 10 overs. India won 93 for 2 in 8 overs where Rishabh Pant was dismissed. By that point in time, they've got the platform to expect the other batsmen to follow suit. So I thought Rishabh Pant, even though he didn't score as many runs, he played his role. From an Australian perspective, I'd said this about Trent Boult in the eliminator of IPL 2024 where RCB were playing against the Rajasthan Royals. Trent Boult none for 6 in his first 3 overs. And what value did that have because the resources weren't used as well around him? It didn't have any value because RCB got 50 for 1 after 6, which I thought it was 5 runs more than what they could have afforded to get to. In this case, India get to 60 for 1 after 6 overs, so just about again 5 runs above par as to where they should have been. Pat Cummins, I think in the 5th over of the innings, he bowls his first over, goes to 15 runs, and for some reason, rather than bring him on for the next over, because even though he's gone 15 runs, he's still one of your standout bowlers, what do? They bring on Marcus Stoinis, who I was very puzzled watching his bowling in this match at times, even when he tried to bowl short to Rohit Sharma earlier on in his spell, where the ball was just above hip height. There were no catches in the ring either, so all Rohit Sharma had to do was place the ball for 4. I thought it was incredibly confusing bowling from Marcus Stoinis. And with reference to Josh Hazlewood's performance today, 1 for 14 and 4, tremendous performance. But that performance, especially for the first 3 overs, was nullified because of the application of those bowling around him. Mitchell Starc, the 29-run over in his second over. Pat Cummins goes 15 in his first. Marcus Stoinis, I don't know what he was trying to do. Adam Zampa, I think Rishabh Pant hit him for 6 in the first ball that he bowled, and from then he had for 41 runs in his 4 overs. So he didn't have that support around him. I'm very surprised Glenn Maxwell didn't get a bowl either, where yes, in terms of, I don't know, maybe they didn't give him a bowl because of some matchups, but they could have at least tried him as another spin bowling option when your lead spinner is going for runs, and which is why Ashton Agar should have played in my view. And India were 114 for 2 after 10 overs. Yes, they only got 91 runs in the back 10, but as I said before, I thought 85 for 2 after the first 10 would be a good platform. Because India had got 29 runs more than where they should have got to, I thought they were allowed to not get as many in the last 10. Even then, they got 91. So With the pass score being 180, 205 was 25 above that pass score. And I thought they could have got even more, where Suryakumar, for some reason, there's been a rhetoric created by piecing a few performances together. He only scores against not such big sides, even though he's got T20 centuries against most of the prominent sides that people talk about. He looked very good today for his 31 of 16, and with a delivery that he was dismissed, a wider delivery from Mitchell Starc, a slower ball, and he tries to get bat on ball and is caught behind. Had he not been dismissed, India could have got that 15 runs more, and this would have looked quite an imposing score, even more than it did. I say imposing because if India got to 210 and above, I thought it would have been a greater psychological boost, especially from where they were, 127 for 2 after 11 overs. But nonetheless, 205 was a fantastic score, I thought, to get on the surface. And Rohit, with the way he went after losing another legend like Virat Kohli early on, a magnificent innings, and I really thought he was on a mood to create a point today, and I'm very, very happy for him, and therefore India's got the win as well. On Shivam Dube, he was 17 of 8, then 28 of 22. I'll say this again, if he doesn't use his feet against the spinners, and if he struggles against the paces unless they're bowling at that floaty pace and ball full, is he going to maximize his output in this side? No, he won't. And I'll get to my 11 in a bit as to the side I would go for when playing against England in the semi-final. And Hardik Pandya, he capitalized off that drop catch. Mitchell Mas again dropping a sitter this time. And 27 of 17, where I thought the runs he got off Marcus Stoinis' final over were the key in helping India to get to the score, because after being 159 for 3 in 14 overs, they couldn't quite get that kick in the final few overs. But I thought 205 for 5 was a very good score here. And now in the Australian batter innings, Arshdeep Singh dismissed David Warner in, I think, the last ball of the first over. And this may be his last match for Australia. He's been a legend for them. And we'll have to see how the Bangladesh versus Afghanistan match goes, which starts in a few hours. But I wish him well with every decision he takes after this. And in the second over, Bumrah upheld his usual standards. Now, I maintain, had Siraj played ahead of one of the spinners, he could have bowled the second over. Bumrah could have bowled his first over after the power play. And a situation where after the first 2 overs yielded 22. I thought from the third over onwards, that's where the concerns started. Some poor application from Arshdeep Singh, where from the first boundary, Mitchell Marsh hits an unnecessary delivery to bowls. Then he bowls a slow ball, a nice shot played by Marsh. But I thought with how Arshdeep had started off in the first over, the ball moving away from David Warner, there was no need to go for the slow ball in the second over. And then after that, a short ball which went for 6. So that's when the momentum started being gathered from an Australian perspective. And from then on, a further 43 runs are scored in the last 3 overs to get Australia on par after the power play. And when I got worried, and this is the situation that I hinted at in the review of the India versus Bangladesh match, if teams saw out Dasit Bumrah's first 2 overs for 13 runs without losing a wicket, Bumrah went for 3 boundaries in his second over, bowled a full toss, I think in the last ball, the third boundary that he conceded. And he went 15 runs after the first 2 overs without picking up a wicket. After that point, facing this Australian side, how will they go? It'd be a huge test where you don't have the extra frontline seamer in Mohammad Siraj. So I don't know about playing 3 spinners going further for the next 2 games in this tournament. We'll have to see how this goes. I don't think they would change things because they have been winning, but I would like Mohammad Siraj to be brought back again. Akshar Patel bowled, I think, in the 5th over, and I didn't mind that decision. He went for 12. And in the last over, where Australia were 48 for 1 in 5 overs, and I think this has got to be a testament to how disappointing Hardik Pandya's bowling has been since his return to injury. And I felt quite a bit sad when Ravi Shastri in the first over that Hardik bowled said he looks to take the pace off. And I thought there was a time in 2022 when he was bowling 140 consistently, being that enforcer in the middle overs. And throughout the IPL season and in this World Cup, we've not seen that version of Hardik Pandya where he's bowled that 140, hitting a length. He's looked to bowl slow balls, bowl defensively. The first ball was a tennis ball bouncer which went over the head of Travis. And I didn't understand what he was looking to do in this innings, and I didn't know why Rohit Sharma was bowling him for the next 2 overs as well, where Kuldeep Yadav only in for 8 runs in his first 2 overs. And in that situation where you're nearing the halfway stage, you're looking to assess your options, where you are at going into the latter half when defending a 200 kind of score. Hardik Pandya then gives 27 runs in his last 2 overs, and that puts further pressure on the rest of the bowlers in the attack. I said India should field 2 spinners from here on out in this tournament, and you'd think one of those spinners would be Kuldeep with the way he bowled today, where from the start Travis Head was going back to full deliveries and at time getting runs through that point region. And Mitchell Marsh, apart from the 3 boundaries he scored of Arshdeep Singh, this was a very scratchy innings, and when Kuldeep was bowling wide googlies, he was taking a swipe towards a square leg region, looking to hit a 6, and it never worked. And he connected off the stock delivery, and Akshar Patel took a fantastic catch, a one-handed catch, where I thought the ball had gone for 6. At that point in time, as I had said, when you're taking stock of where you are at as a fielding side when defending a 200-odd score, 87 for 2 in 9 overs. I thought that was a huge point in the game for India where the momentum could turn. And I thought that had opened and ended up because of the form of the rest of the batsmen to come. But apart from Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell scored 59 in the previous match, but has he convinced me that it'd be a bankable option with how he's been going in the last one? No, he hasn't been. Tim David has not been in form since the previous IPL. Matthew Wade hasn't batted as much. I think after the knock against England, he hasn't faced as many deliveries. And then you've got Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, who can hit, yes, but not substantially, especially against an attack like this. So I thought one door was opened for India. And Glenn Maxwell, when Jadeja bowled the one that he did, going for 17 runs, he made use of the fact the fielders were in behind square on the offside, and he played the reverse sweeps that he likes to play. At that point in time, Australia needed 97 or 58, and I thought the game was definitely going in their favour. I thought it was going to be tough for India to wrestle the game back from that point in time, even though Bumrah's 2 overs were still to come. But with the way Akshar Patel bowled, you saw against Pakistan as well defending a low score. In this case, a different sort of pressure when the opposition is on track to chase down 200. And he went for 12 in his first over, 1 for 9 in his next 2. One of those when, yes, the scoreboard pressure was on India's side, but he also in part created it with the second over that he bowled. And even then he held his nerve and only earned at 4.5 and over for his last 2 overs. So a second great performance from Akshar Patel, meaning Jadeja doesn't have to bowl all that often because you've got enough bowling options in the side. And I would still say India only winning by 24 runs was a bit tardy with the overs. Hardik Pandya bowled Arshdeep Singh's lack of application in the second and fourth over. And I thought India should have won by a lot more than what they won by in the end, but I thought it was a very good win going into the knockout stages. And now for the 11, I think India should field for the knockout matches. There's one notable omission in my side. The 11 I've gone with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli to open the batting. I've got something to say about that too very soon. Rishabh Pant 3. And on Suryakumar Yadav's batting position, with the inclusion of Sanju Samson, the reason why I've done so is because Shivan Dubey this tournament hasn't had his desired returns as we've seen. I'll say this again, he doesn't use his feet to the spinners and struggles against the faster bowlers against a specific length, which is why Sanju Samson, we saw in the Tour of South Africa a few months back, he batted at 3 and scored a century. So he's got the double gears to bat in the top 4 even when the ball is moving around, which is why If 2 quick wickets fall, Sanju Samson can walk out at 4, Suryakumar can walk out at 5. It may be a more favourable situation. Hardik Pandya 6, Akshar Patel 7. I've taken a compromise on the batting depth because between Arshdeep, Bumrah, Kuldeep, you can get at least 15-20 runs, and you'll be looking for them to contribute more with the ball. Yes, England has got some great batting depth, but I feel, as I've said, you've got to play the 2 spinners in the Caribbean to choke the opposition between over 7 and 15. You've got Akshar, you've got Kuldeep. Jadeja isn't getting any batting. Do you need to play Jadeja on the side? No, you don't. You can bring in a Mohammad Siraj, meaning Bumrah can bowl in the middle at the death alongside Akshar and Kuldeep. And as I've said before, Hardik Pandya's batting isn't very good. I do not trust his bowling, even against Pakistan. It seems as if he bowled well in the first 2 overs. He did not bowl well, and any other side would have won from the 72 for 2 with 8 wickets in hand. So, in order for him to not bowl as much, or maybe even not bowl at all, I've got the 3 frontline seamers there. And I think this is the end that India should go with. On Virat Kohli opening, this won't be done now. Probably better if it isn't done now. But pretend if you've got one of Rohit and Kohli dismissed early, as in this match, from the others, no matter who walks out, are you as convinced that they can take India to the score they got today? Even today, Rohit Sharma had to play the innings that he did. So, because of that, given the way Rishabh Pant likes to play, he's going to attack no matter when he walks out to bat. He can open the batting and Virat Kohli can bat at 3. Now, since Kohli hasn't had the tournament that he would have liked to have had, maybe this would be a negative move moving him to 3. It could be, which is why I don't think they'll do that. Maybe it's not necessary to disrupt Rishabh Pant's batting position as well. Or if Kohli, we've seen in the Caribbean a lot of time, the ball does move around the first 6 overs and the power plays a setting phase where if Kohli plays his natural game, opening the batting, Pant at 3, then you've got the other batting assurance that could be fine. So we'll have to see how it goes. I think India will be facing the most powerful side in the competition, that is England. But let's see if they can win that game, progress to the final. If they win that semi-final, I've got India to win this T20 World Cup. Let's see how this goes. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share it with friends. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?